Welcome to Nick on Knicks, where your boy N.I.C rants about the latest Knicks news. We stole one in Boston. The New York Knicks went up to the fake garden and they stole one in Boston. I don't want to hear about how we gave it away. I don't want to hear about how I'm sorry, but how they gave it away. I don't want to hear about that. They didn't give this game away. We went up there and we took it. I know they missed an NBA record for the postseason 45 threes. I know that they made mistakes that they typically don't. But at the end of the day, the Knicks, with the level of aggression that they came out with some of the adjustments that they made compared to the 4 times we met them in the regular season, with the Knicks just pure grit and willingness to do whatever it takes, and the ability to make the big plays in the big moments, the Knicks stole that game. They took that game. I do not want to hear about how the Boston Celtics gave it away. National media, sure, they're going to say that. I don't care. Brian Windhorst, shut the fuck up. I don't care. Yeah, you can't expect the Celtics to shoot this badly again. And after seeing the tape, they're going to put more of an emphasis into getting into the paint. I don't want to hear none of that shit. Because these are defending champions with a coach who's supposed to be a mastermind, with Jason Tatum, who's supposed to be a consensus top 5 player in the league, playing a Knicks team that they beat 4 times this season by an average of 15.3 points, I want to say. It was 15, 16 something. They whooped our ass all year, and nobody gave the Knicks a chance. I saw a graphic where all of the writers from ESPN, all down the line, all picked the Celtics. Some of them in 5. I'm hearing that the Knicks might get swept. I'm seeing headlines on, Stephen A's show, First Take, saying, will the Knicks get swept? Man, put some respect on our name, man. Come on, yo. Knicks came in there and they took that game. Everybody talking about what they're going to do better. We got a lot of things that we can do better. Let's start by not missing 17 free throws. Let's start by being a little bit stronger with the ball and emphasizing cap. But you know what? Right now, we talked about Boston too much. So I'm going to make this a quick one today. I'm heading to the Met game. As soon as I'm done here, Mets are out in Arizona where I'm at. Let me set the setting for you. Yesterday, I'm out at Marley's, Dan Marley's, restaurant and grill right across the street from the downtown area where you got both where the Suns play and also where the Diamondbacks play. We get tickets because the Mets are coming to town. We go every time the Mets come to town, every time the Knicks come to town, me and my pops. And now my oldest 2 kids, they're like 11 and 8. They're at the point where they're into it too. So they come. So we get the tickets for the game, 4 tickets. We're ready to go. And then we're like, damn, game 1, Eastern Conference semifinals. It's on Monday. But it all works out because we are on West Coast time. And the basketball game starts at 4:00. The baseball game starts at 6:40. We're like, yo, get a bite to eat, chill, watch the game. Table directly next to us, father and son, Knicks, Mets, Jets fans. I'm not really a guy when I see people out in the world that I'm like, yo, you should listen to my podcast because, everybody's got a fucking podcast these days. But that was where one people I had to show them the QR code that YouTube gives you, like, yo, man, y'all should probably check this out. And the kid with the young man, he wasn't a kid. He was, he's probably in his young 20s or whatever. He was like, yo, I always say that to him that he did this to me, making him a Knicks, Mets, and Jets fan. Me and my pops, we do a podcast every week. It's called He Did This to Me. It is a podcast that is geared toward the Knicks, Mets, and Jets, but we talk about whatever, like the biggest sports stories in the day. We definitely don't always agree. We go back and forth. Check it out. Comes out once a week. Subscribe. If you're over in Twitter right now or X and you're watching, hop over to YouTube. Link is in the bio and hit the subscribe over there. That way you always get notified if you hit that bell when we are going live. But let's talk about these Knicks, man. So I'm at Marley's. We're watching the game. We got the game on multiple different screens. The screens are in sync, which is very important when you're watching a game and somebody that you're with is facing the opposite direction, or people in the place are, reacting to the game. The TV's got to all be in sync and on time, and you can't have the dude over there be ahead of you. It's a terrible situation. We got the TVs we set up. We're good. They don't throw the sound on. She said, sometimes it does. We do. It depends on how many people ask. I'm like, you got 6 people asking right now. And the Knicks fans were loud in the building because the Mets were in town. And when the Mets are in town, it's more orange and blue inside the D-back stadium, Chase Field, than you see, they're almost as loud, and you see plenty of us. And yesterday we were live because we got to see the Knicks get that dub 108-105 and take game 1 in Boston. So first and foremost, I have to, because I have given this guy his fair share of criticism. I've always maintained that overall, I do not only just appreciate him, but I like him as our head coach. And I have at certain points called for the man's job here recently. After game 2 with Detroit, game in the first round, I was calling for his job. I got to keep it a buck. But, man, we got to give some love. And we have to shout out Tom Thibodeau Jr. Man. Tibbs, listen, everybody I know that talks about the Knicks has talked about, even the people who are Tibbs supporters, even the CP, the franchises of the world, who's always, at the end of the day, he's got love for Tibbs. And, he's not one of these guys that's willing to kill him. I'm not one of those guys that's willing to kill him most of the time, but the frustration boiled over this year at certain points. And even the people who are staunchly in his corner going into this series, whenever I heard them talk about it, they talked about how Tibbs was going to have to make some adjustments. We weren't going to be able to just go out there and do what Tibbs typically likes and what we did against Boston throughout this regular season and have any chance of making this a competitive series. So the thing that was clear to everybody was that we had to start switching screens. Couldn't continue to play these guys in drop coverage with Cat and let them just dictate, or even like the fake hedge and recover. Nah. You got to go ahead and fully switch on them. Orlando just did it. They did it with very good success as far as limiting the amount of threes. We don't have quite the personnel that Orlando does. We have Cat and JB who are defensively challenged. So you can't expect it to work as well, but we had to do that. And I've always screamed that there has to be some level of mixing up when it comes to how we play defense against this team, because a guy like Jason Tatum, if you defend him the same way, a guy like Jaylen Brown, if you defend him the same way, throw Derek White in there too, they're going to figure it out. So you gotta mix it up. You got to show them different looks. And from the very beginning, it was apparent that we were not going to do the drop coverage. Cat was switching onto Tatum, onto Brown, onto White, and he was holding his own. In fact, a little stat that I was going to bring up later, but it seems germane now. Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum were 1 of 8 when Cat was their primary defender. As Big Perk likes to say, he was sliding them puppies. He was staying in front of them, but it did lead to some early foul trouble for Cat. I want to talk about Cat on his own, so we'll dive into that a little bit more. Let me make sure that Tibbs gets his full due here, because the switching was something that seemed obvious, but that doesn't necessarily mean that he was going to do it, and he did it, and he clearly not just said, hey, we got to start switching. There was more that went into it than that, and the Knicks did it beautifully, I thought, throughout most of the game. They didn't just switch. They also did something that I always scream is understanding people's weaknesses and trying our best not to just, follow our concepts, but to accentuate their weaknesses. What people always do to us when it comes to Josh Hart, the Knicks turned around and did the same thing with Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown can't shoot. He's a off the dribble rhythm mid-range guy, but if you just stepping in the threes off the dribble, nah. And we saw it, and he was 1 for 10. So I thought that the game plan, I thought I was trying to dictate what they do. I thought the way that we came out and said, "Hey, Cat, hey, Brunson, sometimes you're gonna have to deal with Jason Tatum on an island, and we're gonna have to live with it." I thought it was excellent. I thought it was excellent. Why me? What's good, brother? I see you out here. Appreciate you commenting. Let's talk about these Knicks. Tell me what you thought about last night's game. Tell me if you think that Boston gave that game away or we took it. Let me know what you think. Appreciate you. Why.me. The other thing that I thought that Tibbs did that jumped out to me immediately is he had Josh Hart on Porzingis. And as we've seen, we saw it again, Orlando was putting smaller guys on Josh Hart. They weren't putting, I'm sorry, on Porzingis. They weren't putting typical centers. We see other teams do this to us when it comes to Cat. These guys who are big that like to shoot out there, it's hard for them to, get into the paint and push these guys who are strong and got lower centers of gravity. It's hard for them to push them around. So I think it really does benefit us to put Josh Hart on Porzingis. Now, Porzingis ends up leaving with the illness. Something's always wrong with that dude. Sounds to me like he had a stomach ache. I don't know, man. Listen, I've had food poisoning once where I was like legit, like, tunnel vision, bedridden, like it was crazy. So if I guess it would be hard to play an NBA basketball game, but you don't see a lot of guys missing games during the playoffs due to an illness. You don't see that too often. You really don't. So I don't know what's going on, Porzingis. I don't ever root for injury, but this is the playoffs, and when you get to this point, I've always said we want to face Boston as late as we possibly can. Going back to last season, when we were fighting for the second seed, I said you get the second seed, so if you do face Boston, it's in the conference finals, and you want to face them as late as you can in the season to see if Porzingis is going to be healthy. Jrue Holiday is dealing with a hammy. This guy Hoarder, he had to leave the game after he did some dumb shit and got the foul called on him. He his feet ran under. It had to be Brunson, right? Or was it Josh Hart? His feet. Yeah, no, his feet. He got in Brunson's landing space, and he ended up being the one who sprained an ankle and then had to leave. So who knows? We'll see what happens with him. He's a key piece. He's a guy who could knock down a shot, and as we know, the Celtics were not knocking down shots last night. They, at one point, shot 19 out of their 20 attempts were threes. I think it was from the end of the third through the fourth. That's wild, yo. Charles Barkley was losing his mind last night talking about that shit. I don't really like the inside show anymore, but when the Knicks do something, they do something well, and they do something that I know these cats are going to have to give us some credit, those are the times where I'll go find on the Knicks segment online. I have to watch it. But Tibbs, he not only had a good game plan for Josh Hart as a defender, but he also, him and the coaching staff, they somehow got Josh Hart to understand that he has to be involved in the action on offense. We saw this about midway through the Detroit series where they stopped just having him stand in the corner. And that makes it much harder for you to take his man and just park him in the paint and be a deterrent to the Cat and Brunson pick and roll, or just the Brunson doing his thing. If you have him moving, it makes it more difficult. And Josh Hart was, moving, and he was moving the ball. When I look at the stat sheet at the end and I saw that he only had 7 assists, that blew me away. Only 3 assists. That blew me away. I felt like he had a whole lot more. He had the biggest assist of the game. The pass, probably the biggest sequence of the game, arguably, where Bridges makes the steal on the inbounds pass, saves it in front of Al Horford, gets it to Josh Hart. Josh Hart gets the ball up the court, slows it up. The Celtics defense is very concerned with Brunson, and OG is able to slip behind Jason Tatum, catch the ball, iconic dunk, feet up in the air, kicks Tatum in the face. I mean, just an icon. It's the thumbnail of this video. I mean, just come on, man. Great play. Watching it in the bar without sound, without sound was the one thing that was a little bit annoying. But being there with my two kids, my dad, and then right next to us, two other Knicks and Mets fans as well, and there was other Knicks fans within the building because you could hear us reacting, and there was a couple Boston fans there. Some old dude with a Boston hat. I mean, this guy was old. He looked like he was John Havlicek's friend in grade school. But he he was a nice guy though. He was nice. He's actually said something to us on the way out. I'm not hating on the old man. I hope I can get to his level. But there was another lady who was like wearing a green shirt, and she was clearly rooting for Boston, and she was kind of trying to throw some shit in, and you could tell she didn't really know what was really even happening for real. But she was like, oh, okay, she was getting caught up in the atmosphere. We heckled her a little bit on the way out. Yeah. Old ladies, you can get it too. I don't care. You come out here, you got anything to say that's anti-Knicks, and you in my presence, you can get it too. To keep your kids and your wives at home if you don't want them to catch this, yo, let me chill. Tibbs, man, early in the game, I thought he was utilizing Cat very well offensively. We were getting Cat touches inside the 3-point line, which is what I and most Knicks fans have been begging for. I think it is a Cat issue, a Tibbs issue, a Brunson issue. It's an organizational issue. We have to get him the ball in more advantageous places. Now, he got taken out of that offensive rhythm by picking up those 3 fouls. Second foul was bullshit. Jason Tatum pump fakes him. He does jump forward, does not jump into his space. Jason Tatum leans forward. It should not have been a foul. I thought it was I honestly there was a part of me that was like, ooh, should you challenge that? But it was like the second quarter, it was the first quarter. First quarter. Can't do it in the first quarter. You just can't. We just kill this guy Bickerstaff for how he uses challenges. So I understand now using the challenge right there, especially on a call that's somewhat of a judgment call. It's not a, who touched it last, where it's very objective. It's a judgment call. So can't put that in the ref's hands. I will say I didn't hate the refs. I almost always hate the refs, but I didn't hate the refs. I thought there was that call on Towns. I even thought Towns' third foul, where the bump that he gave was just, I mean, come on, man. The game was called totally differently than the entire series in Detroit as well. Watching that series and then coming and watching this series, it's like the refs have two different concepts of what a foul is. But I thought he did a good job of trying to get Cat involved early. We had some nice plays and some nice sets coming out of the out of bounds and out of timeouts. Another thing that I've been begging Tibbs for. Once Cat got the foul trouble, Mitch gets in. Mazzulla goes hack a Mitch in the second quarter. Totally takes us out of rhythm. Really killed us at that moment. Had no offensive rhythm. Mitch goes 3 of 10 from the line. Super line drive. Seems like it has no chance of going in. And, overall, I thought that, the hack of Mitch thing is a tough one because Mitch brings you so much. You almost want to get Mitch in earlier in the game because they don't want to get themselves into the penalty too early. And it did kind of come back to bite them at the end, especially with Porzingis ended up being out. And now Cornette and these guys are in foul trouble a little bit. That's the same refs from the game 5 versus Detroit. So at this time of year, the refs move around as teams. I thought that they always get mixed up. I didn't think it was like the NFL where it's like this is a particular officiating team. But game five in Detroit, a lot of people were like, "Oh, I don't want to talk about the refs because we still could have won and blah blah blah." The refs were horrible in game five in Detroit. Game five in Detroit, they made up for one bad call by giving them a 4 quarters of every single call going the Pistons' way. Game five was horrible. But I thought the officiating last night was I thought they did pretty well, man. I there was like I said, the cat call. There was a cat on Josh Hart I didn't like. There was a time where at the end of the first half, or was it the end of the first quarter? I know it was at at the horn. Jalen Brown just shoved Jalen Brunson just crazy right in the middle of the floor. No call. And then Jalen Brown's like yapping back at Brunson. Brunson was just like, nah, I'm not really paying too much attention. Whatever the case may be, I often am very critical of the officials. I didn't think they were too bad last night. But yeah, we ran out of bounds plays, man. We ran decent plays coming out of timeouts. Again, there's one time out of a timeout that I thought we ran a shit play where it was a play that ended up with Cat just getting the ball behind the 3-point line with 7 seconds left on the clock. And I hated that. But for the most part, I was watching specifically like if we were going to have a hard time getting the ball inbounded in those key moments, which is something that we always struggle with. And we seem like we were prepared for those types of things. I also like that Tibbs got Brunson the blow in the late third, early fourth quarter. That's always important to me. I don't like when Brunson plays like almost the entire second half. You got to give this guy a little bit of the rest so he has the juice to, put that cape on and be the most clutch player in the NBA as he is. Bravo, Tibbs. You get your flowers, bud. Now they're going to make adjustments. We're going to have to make counter adjustments. But I'm telling you, man, that was I very early and throughout the game continued to be like, yo, he's in his bag tonight. He outcoached Missoula last night. Missoula had some things that he did. The fact that he couldn't get that team to get the ball into the paint and stop just chucking up threes when they clearly weren't going in. I thought that was, well done, man. I, you know, I thought that was well done by Tibbs to be able to force them into taking dribble up threes, not catch threes, not dribble threes where a guy is in drop coverage and it's Karl Anthony Towns. No, he had them having to dribble the ball and then shoot a three. We were keeping guys in front of us. We weren't just giving them the advantage by over helping. I thought that Tibbs did a great job of deploying that, and I thought that Missoula didn't counter. He didn't counter. He didn't get those guys to mix it up and do something different. And, that has to be recognized because everybody gave the coaching edge to Joe Mazzulla coming into this series. But there's only been one game. But so far in that one game, Tom Thibodeau outcoached Joe Mazzulla. First player that we got to focus on, Ogugua. Yo, man. OG, man. What a performance by OG on both ends of the floor. 29 big points. He was 6 of 11 from behind the arc. He had the crazy steal on Tatum that led to the dunk. He had the aforementioned play where he got the assist from Josh Hart after the crazy steal from Bridges, where he dunked it with the two hands, legs up in the air, kicked Jason Tatum in the face. OG had those back-to-back threes when the Knicks were down by their largest margin, 75-55. OG hits 2 threes in less than a minute to get it from 20 down to 14. OG, man. OG, he even pushed Karl Anthony Towns to help him rotate to Derek White. Karl Anthony Towns was kind of in space, not guarding anybody. Ball's getting kicked to Derek White. Derek White is about to pull from 3. OG sees this and anticipates it because he's always 5 steps ahead, especially on the defensive end, and he shoves Karl Anthony Towns in the direction of Derek White, like, "Yo, go get out on him." This cat is so locked in on defense that he's physically propelling his teammates to go play defense. Yo, what can you say about OG, man? There's no way when we get down by 20 and then from there we outplay them. You could argue that OG was our best and our most impactful player. And really, there's about 3 different people that you could argue that for, and that's what I love about this team, and that's what I loved about last night was that was just such a team win. Different guys stepping up at different times. OG was excellent, man. The dude is a defensive savant. On offense, he goes to the rim strong. I know sometimes when he puts the ball on the floor for too long, just like every other Knick fan, I know y'all are just like me going, give it up, give it up. I know he sometimes you can't really give him too slick of a pass. You can't pass him no ball where he's going to go catch it like this. No, 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 no. But OG gets into the paint and he tries his best to finish right. It's really hard to understand with OG sometimes because there's times where he like runs and takes big heel toe steps and then like long strides and then goes and he shoots a ball that he's like releasing almost under the backboard. And then other times he just goes boom, boom, jumps up, 2 hands, boom. Hard to get. It's hard to understand from OG, honestly. But hey man, OG last night with the virtuoso performance. That's his best performance in the playoffs as a Knick. The Celtics were 1 of 15 from the floor when guarded by OG and Anunoby, spread amongst, all their best players. OG was amazing last night. Defensively, offensively, he gave us every single thing that he had and that we needed. Bravo, Ogugua. Well done, man. Well done from him. OG last night, he earned his money. That brings us to Mikal, fuck those picks, Bridges. I gotta keep it a buck, man. I either loved him or wanted him off the team multiple times each throughout yesterday's game. My pops was making fun of me because at one point in that second quarter where the Knicks, they end up being down by 16 after playing fairly well throughout the first quarter. They don't end the quarter so well. And in the second quarter, Boston starts hitting some shots. Knicks go cold. Cat's in foul trouble. Hack a Mitch. And Bridges has, as my pops like to say, a couple frivolous passes where, he's just not being forceful enough with the ball. He only ended up having 2 turnovers for the game? How many? 1 turnover. So I don't know, man. It felt worse than that. Really did. It felt worse than that when it came to Bridges. He wasn't hitting shots. He didn't have a good night shooting from the field last night. He was only 3 of 13, 2 of 5 from the 3-point line. You'll take that. But, I also was screaming before the series that I need Bridges taking more like 18, 19, 20 shots. And so, at one point I was like, man, come on, man. What are we doing? I was like, honestly, maybe we need to get some more deuce in the game right now. But I need to learn to just fall back when it comes to this guy Bridges and just know that offensively, we're not going to get a guy who is consistently going to be aggressive and give you 20. I just don't know if he's that guy. But his value is immense. His value is vital to this New York Knicks team. Because at this point, you got to start asking, is he the defensive version of Jalen Brunson? Because all I see throughout the year is this guy, when it matters the most, making the biggest defensive plays that you possibly can. OG and OG Anunoby, he's well known as being like our best defender, right? And I mean, he did a hell of a job last night on Tatum. He did a hell of a job on everybody. Like I said, 1 of 15 when OG was the primary defender. But when it comes to the clutch, game winning, game sealing plays, how many has Bridges produced in just this year? I can think of at least like 3 or 4 off the top. I would love if somebody could figure that out. And I'm talking about like end of the game plays, but it's not just that, it's the plays that lead up to it. It's that steal. The steal he makes where he deflects the pass and then goes and saves it into Josh Hart, which lead it to the OG dunk, which I'm pretty sure that tied the game. It's just excellent. Excellent hands, excellent effort, excellent wherewithal to hang in the air and turn around and find a teammate and not just throw the ball back in blindly as many players do when they're saving the ball. Oh man, Bridges. Well, that play right there was fantastic. Then he hits the clutch three in the corner. I saw a couple people putting online that it went off the glass and like supposedly like he thanked the Lord for it afterwards. I watched it a few times since then, and I'm like, I don't see where this ball goes off the glass from the corner. That would be a crazy angle. But he was ready. It was it was who was it that found him? I'm pretty sure it was Brunson. I'm pretty sure it was OG to Brunson to Bridges. I might be wrong on that. But I thought that Bridges just continued to show you that he is going to make plays in the clutch, that his defense is so valuable. And especially like on a team like this with their very much acclaimed wings, the Knicks realized that if we wanted to be able to go up against and beat this team, we needed another big wing who could guard. And now Bridges not only can guard those bigger guys, but we've seen Bridges also play the Trae Youngs of the world. So we put him on the small guys. We put him on the longer guys. We ask him to switch, and I'd love to see him go to the basket more. I'd love for him to get hot from deep and just his shot in general. But even when he's not hitting the shot, he's playing hard on defense. He's showing emotion. He got so hyped because he went to fight over a screen and got an offensive foul called on the Celtics, and he was hyped. When Brunson hit that shot the other day, he was hyped. He was hyped like he hit it. So that shows me this guy's out here. He really wants to win. He really cares about the team. And if that's the case, I can deal with some ups and downs when it comes to your offensive output. And then on the last play of the game, 3 seconds left, again, this is another one where, Mazzulla, where you at? The Celtics run an inbound play. I went and watched this back like 3-4 times last night because I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Jason Tatum is standing at the free throw line. He's not involved with the play. They look like they don't want him seeing the ball, touching the ball. I don't care what Jason Tatum is shooting. He should be your number one option. And then, because when I was talking to my pops about it after we had watched the game live, and now we're at the Mets game, and I was saying how, the last thing you want is this guy catching the ball, like having a ball having to go up over somebody's head and catch it like that. You do something like that when you got like 0.7 left. So you got to catch it and in one motion put it up. There's 3 seconds left. Have somebody coming at the ball, making a clean catch like this, turning. They got a chance to make a dribble or a pass and then shoot. So I just thought that was crazy. I'm like, that had to have been like the last option, and the Knicks just guarded everything else. I watched it multiple times. That was the first option. That's what they were trying to run. And that's crazy to me. I don't understand what play this is. If that's the play that you're trying to run, getting a guy who's 1 of 10, who's historically not a good 3-point shooter, you're down by 3, and you want him catching a touchdown pass, catching a pass like where a ball goes over the defender and he catches it like this and puts it. Come on, man. And Bridges snatched that shit. He wanted it more than Jaylen Brown did. Jaylen Brown was worried about catching it and getting up a shot. Bridges was like, give me that. No shot here. Throws the ball down the court. Knicks win. What a dub, man. Hey, man, Bridges, you proved a lot to me last night. Again, please be a little bit more aggressive on the offensive end, and definitely Overall, I would just like him to be a little bit stronger with the ball. But he got another thing about Bridges got to all the 50-50 balls. There's a lot of plays where it was like, and he was the one that secured that ball. And it's one of the things that I've criticized about him, especially in comparison to our guy Ragu. Dante DiVincenzo, he's a small guy, very strong with the ball. Dante DiVincenzo gets his hands on the ball, he's winning that ball. Bridges, I thought last night showed a little bit more of that toughness, and we're gonna need even more of it going forward. JB, captain. Damn, man. You know, you look at JB's numbers overall, and even if you watch that game, if you hear 29 points, 5 assists, 4 rebounds, 2 steals, you say, yo, that's a really good game. But if you're a Knicks fan and you watch that game, you know that Jalen Brunson, he was not his best last night. Shot 9 of 23, 5 of 9 from behind the line, the 3-point line, that is. But, he had 4 turnovers. He just wasn't his best. He wasn't his sharpest throughout the entire game, especially at the beginning and also at the very end. The thing about Brunson is, though, as we know, this man is Captain Clutch. He is the NBA Clutch Performer of the Year. He is the latest thing since Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant when it comes to everybody knows at the end of the game the ball's going to be in his hands and he's going to look to score, and they still can't stop it. Brunson's having a tough game in that fourth quarter. He goes 3 of 3 from behind the arc. He hit 2 consecutive threes. The game was tied at 91. The Knicks have now stormed back. And Brunson hits 2 consecutive threes to put the Knicks up 97-91. Those 3 threes that he hit in his play in the fourth quarter, it gave us a shot. We went into the fourth quarter down by 9. And Brunson, he willed us back to that point. And a point that I have made this season, now that we have a Bridges, now that we have a Karl Anthony Towns, we've seen in the past where Brunson was able to get us back into a game. But if he wasn't able to just be completely heroic like he was, say, in the clincher against Detroit, that we wouldn't have enough to get over the hump. He would get us all the way back, wouldn't have quite enough to get us over the hump, and nobody else could do it. Now this team has guys that can do it. And Brunson said as much after the game. He said that he was so happy for his teammates to be able to get him over the hump because Brunson didn't score for the last 8 minutes of the game. As brilliant as he was getting us back, he was not able to close it. Brunson not scoring for the last 3 minutes of regulation and then the last 5 minutes in the overtime session. You think that the Knicks, they lose that game, right? But we have other guys who can perform, who can step up in the biggest moments. Shout out to my guy Keith Watkins in the chat, always showing love. Nick on Knicks, he did this to me. Super fan. Appreciate you, brother, as always. Yo, Keith, we watched the game at the bar, me, my pops, my 2 oldest kids, and then after the game, walked across the street and watched the Mets game. Watched our Mets go out there and get that dub. Watched Alonso hit a home run. Watched also Lindor hit a home run. Sorry for I'm sure there's Yankee fans in the chat that are watching right now. I don't hate the Yankees like a lot of Mets fans do. I don't got love for them, but I don't hate them like a lot of fans do. So, come over to the channel, man. Check me out. We can agree on the Knicks. That's right. Brunson gave us a shot, man. 3 for 3 from 3. He gave us a shot and gave us a chance to win. And his boys picked him up on a night where he missed an awful, I mean, just like I felt awful for him because he makes that shot not 9 out of 10 times. He makes that shot 10 out of 10 times. And he has a little floater to his left. Al Horford is there, but come on, man. He's nice and balanced and just puts it up, and it just hit off the glass in the wrong spot, bounced around on the rim, didn't go down. And you saw him afterwards. He was like, just, he was smiling like, damn, he wasn't able to have that offensive game where everything is going for him. 9 of 23. I expect a bounce back game from Brunson in game 2. Again, everybody's talking about what Boston's going to do different. Brunson ain't going to shoot 9 of 23 in this next game. So what they going to do about that? Bridges ain't going to shoot 3 of 13. Cat's not going to only have 14 points. So everybody who wants to talk about all the things that Boston is going to clean up, we got things to clean up as well. And for the first time in a long time, I'm confident that Tom Thibodeau will make the necessary adjustments between games 1 and 2 and also during game 2. But Brunson, man, hey, man, he's our captain. He got us there to the edge, and his boys were able to push us over, get us a dub. Josh Hart, we've talked about Josh Hart a lot just because, he has his hands on everything. So as you're talking about other things, Josh Hart is always going to come up, 14, 11, and 3. It felt like way more than 3 assists. He was all over the place. There was one play where he had 2 offensive rebounds, which ended up leading to a Brunson 3. He's just everywhere, man. He really he's getting much better at just that movement off the ball, being able to move it around and get, and not just catch the ball in the corner and have to shoot a 3. And when he does get a 3, he's shooting it, and he's shooting it confidently. And obviously we need him to do that. He was 1 of 5, but in that Orlando series, I believe he might have been like our second highest 3-point shooter percentage wise. I want to say that I'm not 100% sure. Josh Hart's been doing his thing, man. Yeah, man. Yeah, Keith, as Keith says, man, McCall and OG, they gave us that tush push across the line. Yeah, pause, but yeah, I hear you. I get the reference. Yeah, man. McCall and OG were excellent last night. That was Wingstop at its finest. And I would add Josh Hart and his defense in there as well. Josh Hart, I think sometimes takes way too many gambles defensively and does some dumb shit. I thought last night his defense was excellent. I thought his spirit, as always, is something that just, pushes this entire team. He's got the perfect name, perfect person to wear that number for these New York Knicks. And I just thought that he was omnipresent. You know what I mean? Like he was always everything. He was in the middle of everything. His ability to get downhill and finish in the open court is, some of the best, one of the couple best in the league, in my opinion. His ability to finish that layup and get there. And I just thought he played with a certain level of force that we really needed from the very beginning. Appreciate Josh Hart for sure. Karl Anthony Towns. 14 points, 13 rebounds, got into the foul trouble. See, I thought earlier in the game we were doing a good job of featuring Cat. Cat was doing his thing. Then he got into the foul trouble. That really, really got him out of his rhythm. He had 6 points in only 7 minutes in the first quarter. And then I thought that in the third quarter, we started force feeding Cat, and Cat was being very predictable. Cat was not getting whistles, which he never does. Cat has the most unfair whistle of any player I've ever seen in the NBA. Some of the things that they call him for, if they were just to give him that same call when he was the man that was on offense with the ball, the man would shoot friggin' 18 free throws a game. But in that third quarter, man, when they, when the Celtics really, when they had us feeling like, yo, this game is a wrap, we're down by 20. A lot of that was in only 5 minutes and 41 seconds. You had Karl Anthony Towns going 0 for 4 with 2 turnovers. -4 over, and a -4 overall. It was a tough quarter for Cat. I thought we were being a little bit too predictable with what we were asking him to do. I thought he was being a little bit too predictable as far as how he was trying to execute it. Yeah, it wasn't a good quarter for Cat. But again, full team win. Cat, when it mattered the most, he's in the game. If you look back, he had a couple good defensive plays, a couple big rebounds, and then in overtime, Brunson gets another lefty shot that he typically hits. This one's a little bit more difficult than the one at the end of regulation over Al Horford, but he typically hits it and then he comes off. Cat is right there, and I went and I rewound and I watched that one a couple times. Cat fights for that spot in that position. On Jason Tatum, starts doing his work early to get into that position, gets Tatum up underneath the rim, and is able to easily just grab the ball and put it right back in. Thought that was excellent from Cat. Yeah, man. I think that, we're clearly going to need more from him. We are clearly going to need more from Karl Anthony Towns if we want to win this series. And I think it's coming. I think we still have to continue to do a better job of getting him the ball in advantageous spots. And he has to do a better job of taking what the defense gives him and basically just being someone who is dangerous from every place on the floor. So we don't need you to force getting all the way here or doing anything. Yo, bro, you 7 feet tall. If they cut you off, pull up, no one leg Dirk shit. If it's not necessary. Pull up and shoot a jump shot and hit it. We know you can do that. Just do it. Just do it. But we got to do our best to get him the ball as close to the block as possible, even if he gets to like the elbow. And then I would love to see some more of him catching that ball, whether it be at the top of the key or even when he catches it around like the free throw line, and then guys are cutting off of him. That JB shot that should have ended the game in regulation. It was a beautiful, beautiful read by Karl Anthony Towns. He gets the ball up just inside the 3-point line, around the top of the key. He turns, Jalen Brunson cuts back door, gives it to Brunson. Brunson wide open lefty. Just didn't fall. But we need more of that from Cat. We need more of that designed as a way to utilize Cat. So I'm hoping to see that, and I think we will. Deuce is back. All right. Well, you could be Deuce again, man. You ain't Miles no more. I was calling you. You were strictly Miles to me for a little bit, but we're gonna get back to calling you Deuce. Deuce has had good numbers against the Celtics throughout the season, and Deuce came in and he had the game that we need from Deuce. 11 points. He was 3 of 6 from behind the arc. He had a steal in there. He just looked better, and he was hitting shots. And Deuce, at the end of the day, he's not a player that you could be like, yeah, he does all these other things. Even when he's not hitting shots, you need Deuce to hit shots. This team needs it. And his game and his inability to drive to the paint and really put pressure on the defense that way, he's got to hit those open shots. And he did last night. I'll take that night from Deuce all day, every day. 11 points, 3 of 6. Deuce really did his thing last night. He played very well. And he just held his own. There weren't times where you're looking at him on the floor and being like, damn, yo, Deuce is getting killed right now. He remembered how to shoot. And I said this in last week's episode. If he did this to me, if he outplays Peyton Pritchard, the Knicks win the series. Well, we're 1 for 1. I know he's the 6th man of the year, but at the beginning of the year, going into this year, I know a lot of people who are Knicks fans were like, yo, this kid Deuce, man, he could win like 6th man of the year. He could be like a starter on some teams. And Deuce had a very up and down year. A lot of that has to do with injuries. I heard I want to say it was JD Sports Talk on the Knicks fans TV, their post game show with CP. Shout out to CP franchise, JD, Alex, all them. But I'm pretty sure it was him who said, yo, Deuce puts so much legs into his shot. He jumps high. So when he has that lower body injury or back injury, any of those things, it really takes away from him. So maybe that little bit of rest that he was able to get in between series, he was able to rest up a little bit. I don't know what the case is. We just need it, Deuce. We need you. We need you to hit shots. We need you to have an impact in these games. And if he does, like I said, if he outplays Peyton Pritchard, we win the series. We've talked about Mitch. He, like I said, 3 of 10 from the line, solid defense, switching on to Tatum. He had a team high plus 13 for the game. I thought that Mitch looked okay out there, but he might play himself off the floor with the free throws. We can't go 3 of 10. I don't know. You're not gonna mess with the starting lineup, but like Mitch getting in the game early and them not wanting to get themselves in the early foul trouble or the penalty early, that may be the counteraction just because Mitch is very important. The NBA's got to do something about that rule. I hate it. They took away that they added the take foul to take away that to lead to more exciting plays. Nobody that's watching the game says, "Oh man, I really like watching them foul this guy over and over again." But same time, yo, man, you on the floor, you NBA basketball player. You got to be able to hit a free throw. They're called, as they always say, they're called free throws for a reason. His shot is so line drive, it's either going straight in or it's missing. It's never bound. My dad was trying to explain to my kids yesterday, like, yo, when you shoot like that, it has no chance to bounce around and then go in. But Mitch gives you so much on the defensive end. And then, his offensive rebounding. He's one of the few guys who, can block Tatum's three or block Tatum at the rim. Not too many guys in the NBA can do that. Not too many guys even have a chance to or even a thought of being able to do such a thing. Mitch is that guy. So yeah, man, being able to figure out whether or not and how to play him is going to be a key factor in this series. Precious got in the game, got 5 minutes because of the hack of Mitch. At one point, Tom Thibodeau said, "Hey, I got to get this guy out. I got to." Precious came in, he got 2 rebounds. Precious was in during a tough stint where the Knicks didn't look too good towards the end of that first half. Ends up getting a -7 in only 5 minutes of play. Like I said, just had the 2 defensive rebounds. It'll be interesting to see what we can get for Precious. What his attempt to lay the ball up. I mean, it wasn't even competitive layup. He tried throwing up like a out of control lefty layup that went high off the glass and bounced. Just went wherever. Come on, Precious. I need a little bit better out of you than that. But I thought that overall, that might be something that we have to see if they're going to do the hack of Mitch because it completely took us out of rhythm. And can't use 3 of 10 is just not. It's not tenable. The Knicks end up missing 17 free throws. No, I'm sorry, missing 14 free throws throughout the game. 17 of 31. A lot of that was Mitch. Josh Hart also had a tough time at the line. He ended up going 3 of 6. Campaign 0 of 2. Come on, Campaign. Campaign got in the game. He didn't do anything. He was but he was able to be in there and just get, like I said, getting Brunson that blow from the third quarter to the fourth quarter. So important. So the Celtics are going to come back in this second game. They're going to come in. They're going to give you their best. They're going to be focused. They're going to be hell-bent on not chucking up a bunch of threes. But I think that's interesting because that's their identity. So if they don't chuck up a bunch of threes and now all of a sudden they're trying to do something that they're not, or do they come in and just say, no, we're going to keep chucking them up because we're not going to shoot 15 of 60 again? That's going to be interesting. But we can analyze that game when it comes. As of right now, the Knicks lead the Eastern Conference semifinals 1-0. They have stolen home court from the defending champion, Boston Celtics. They got a chance in this series, man. They got a chance in this series, and they showed the world that a lot of Knicks fans have felt like they do have a chance. There's a whole lot of Knicks fans out there on Twitter and on X and all these different platforms who they didn't feel like the Knicks had a chance. But this is a new season. This is not the regular season. Tom Thibodeau has made adjustments. Bridges is out here. He ain't worried about how many minutes he's playing. He played 51 minutes. Looked like he could have played more. And maybe, just maybe, Tibbs has us more ready for these tense moments and for these big minutes that you have to play in the playoffs. All we got to do is keep these games close, because if they're close, Captain Clutch and his entire brigade, all them cats, we all are steely-eyed in the biggest times. We're all out here and we are ready to make the big plays in the big moments. And if that game is close late, the Knicks going to take it from you. They've shown that. They've shown it all season. They've shown it in these playoffs. Let's go up to Boston, game 2, Wednesday, and let's show them again. Let's get greedy. Get that second win. Come back to the Garden for game 3. The place is going to be out of control. Let's go, Knicks.